everybody. Hello. I'm gonna just stand up. Hello, everybody. How are you doing? I'm just looking at all y'all. All right. There's some new faces here. I just want to welcome all the new faces and the old faces, and as in knowing me for a long time faces. Okay. My name is Kilolo Luckett, and I'm the founding executive director and chief curator here at Alma Lewis. And we also have an artist that is in from Miami who was the inaugural gallery artist here, Murjoni Lewis. And so all of Amani's work sold out at the show, and a regional museum is acquiring one of your works, yes. So.
I signed an NDA, so.
And I just want to acknowledge that. And I just want to acknowledge some other people in the room, my team members, Marco and Camilo right there. Woo! And then also Marvin, who is the inaugural resident artist. Yes, yeah. This is just a big old party. Okay, and then I have some board members. And I have a founding board member, so Don Fleischner, stand up. We have Curator Mercer, my board chair. Got Priya Shaw back there. Yes. Advisor here, Rick. Yes. Exactly. Yeah, yes. So I just want to thank everybody for coming. I want to just acknowledge some folks. And of course, Johnny Barbera and Sunny back there. The architects of all this. Yes. Okay, so we're just going to be in conversation. It's very informal. And then we'll have people, if you want to ask questions, we can do that as well. So we're going to take about 25, 30 minutes. We're going to talk for about 15 minutes. And then we'll, raise your hand and we'll call on you and you can ask questions or make comments. No, not you, Amani. Amani and Murjoni are best friends too. So
I'm like, thank you. You said not you, Amani. I was like, hey, exactly.
Alrighty, okay, so let's get started. So, Murjoni, how are you feeling?
I feel great, but I'm a little nervous, Kilolo.
Yeah, Murjoni likes me to send her questions ahead of time. And I said, I'm not hard on you. I'm not. No. So, and we've been through this a few times already.
Yeah.
But I just want to take a step back and just ask you, what were your thoughts about, I was looking at Marvin, I was like, Marvin, are you laughing at me? Asking about some of my questions. Just take a step back. Before you even came here, what were your initial thoughts about being a resident artist?
Well, I was initially super excited because I was able to be in a space for 3 months. So I felt like I was able to settle in and then be able to think about what I'm doing, make work, and keep making work essentially. But then I was also super excited because there was no pressure. And that kind of continued throughout the residency as well, where I think before you asked me, what would you want to do? And I had all these different ideas. I thought I was going to be like making 100 pieces in these 3 months. Didn't happen. But it felt great to not feel like I had any obligations. Like you weren't looking for me to have a show at the end, or you just wanted me to experiment on different things, which is what I was looking forward to anyway. So when you kind of left that open, I was just like, well, I'm gonna be doing this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna make a 5-foot sculpture, I'm gonna make 3 of those. And I was sitting here like, but when I came here, it completely changed. I decided to go on a different route into making the resin pieces that you guys are seeing. But also realizing that takes time and like learning to be kind to myself in that process as well.
Mm-hmm. Every artist that comes here, they do a site visit before spending time here for 3 months. And the same thing with the gallery artists too. They come here and we look at resources, and some of our resources are sitting in this room, and the PCAM, the Pittsburgh Center for Arts and Media, Kyle and Audra, right here are our partners, one of our partners, because Murjoni got to fire your work, run up there for our workshop this past Saturday that we had. And so you all have been just really instrumental, and we just look forward to doing more, collaborations with
Us
you.
too.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about some of the resources, some of the people that you met while you were here.
Well, you guys. You guys have honestly been, and I feel like I've told you guys before, you guys have honestly been so welcoming, like in your community at the PCAM. I feel like when I came in there, I didn't feel like I was the outcast. I felt like I was automatically a part of the family, and I just appreciate that because there are places who don't do that and don't realize that they don't do that. You know what I mean? Right, so you guys are awesome. And even having your open houses they're beautiful. Having your shows, they're amazing. And the people there are very open. Also doing work at the Glass Center, you connected me to Jack first, and then I was also able to take not one, but 2 workshops at the Glass Center, and I was able to make like terrariums. I was able to make a flower, an ornament. Like I was making all these different things, and that was something that I actually wanted to learn when I first came to Pittsburgh. Actually, even before, I think that was like one of the first things I told you, that I wanted to work in glass. Just because I was like, why not I'm gonna be in a new place for 3 months, why not learn something new while also doing things that I love?
And those are some things that you can go back to Baltimore and continue.
And you know what's so crazy? The whole time, I'm sitting here like, Murjoni, you could have literally been taking workshops. Like, why did I not think to take workshops in Baltimore? And I just felt like, for some reason, I just feel like it wasn't accessible to me. You know what I mean? And I didn't know why. I just felt like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do it because I went to college and I probably shouldn't take up space. But I should go to these workshops in Baltimore. That's what they're for. You know, so when you were like, oh, we'll just take these workshops, I was like, oh. It's that simple. Oh, okay, I'll just take workshops if I want to learn something. So I appreciate that too. Like even like getting me out of my comfort zone multiple times, you know what I mean? Being able to like ask for help, which is a super huge issue for me. And you were like, girl, if you don't call Marvin about these resin pieces, and I'm sitting here like, I don't know, he's busy, he has a life, I don't know. And she's like, girl, call him. So you ended up calling him yourself.
I actually texted Marvin.
And I was just like, so he actually came and helped me do a lot of these resin pieces and even like helped me feel confident, which I appreciate you so much, helped me feel confident in like making those works too. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Also, shout out to the team because y'all also were a part of that confidence as well. Like they have pushed me beyond belief. So I appreciate you guys and I love you guys. Let me not get teary-eyed.
So, Murjoni, you have a couple of pieces right there.
Oh yeah, I almost forgot.
Because she literally was going to take a piece off to show somebody earlier, and Mark was like, Murjoni, no, don't do that. Here's some stuff.
You had to call me. No, it's okay. You know what's so funny? Because I was going to demold one of these in the studio in front of Marvin, and then I looked at it, because I'm terrible. I have a bad habit of sticking my finger in the mold of resin to see if it's cured, and sometimes it's not, so then I come up with like a resin of like a fingered resin, which you're not supposed to touch resin, guys. You're supposed to wear gloves. I don't know why I do this. But I'm like in the studio, I'm looking at the mold, and then I go like this, and I look at Marvin, and Marvin's looking at me like this. And I'm just like, and I just take something else, and I'm just like, it's cured. He's looking at me like, man, Murjoni. But you want me to talk about these?
Sure.
Why did I end up doing these? I ended up doing these pieces, I can show you. I ended up doing these pieces because I wanted to actually make, like, go hard or go home, do a big piece. And that probably wasn't the smartest thing for me to do, so I was gonna start small. I made frogs with Marvin, which was really nice at his pilot workshop. And then I decided to make a mask. Well, not a mask, essentially, but this is just a face from one of my pieces that was drying up. And I was like, why not put this to good use? She has a good face, why not? So I cut the face off and just made a mold out of it from what I learned in Marvin's workshop. And I liked the outcome, and I kind of kept using the mold like crazy. So this one, I love this one. I'm so glad you picked this one because it has rocks and black moss in it. And this one is just, I'm not really sure why it's speaking to me, but it's really speaking to me right now. But it's also fun to be able to put random things into resin and it just looks cool. You know what I mean? I put a piece of tissue in some resin just to see what it would do.
It's
you know?
beautiful. It's
Right?
gorgeous.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
I put some braids in there. I put rocks in there. This one was eucalyptus. Because y'all know I like plants. Well, some of y'all don't know, but I like plants. So I wanted to, and I also love green. And I wanted to make pieces that kind of reflected more of me. But yeah, I'm really proud of these.
And I love your stamp too, your signature.
Yeah, all of my girls have my signature right here. And then on the faces, the signature is right here. So it's kind of like a face tattoo.
With a heart.
With a heart at the bottom. Because I don't know why I always included that, but when I sign my name, I always like to put like a little heart. Like, oh, love y'all, you know?
Mm-hmm. So you know how I love to talk about the way in which artists tend to be in the art world kind of risk averse to failure. Mm. And I always say failure in a generative way because we're so hard on ourselves. But here at Alma Lewis, we really take great pride in exploring and research and experimentation as the core. And I always say that the process is the product for us. Because with artists, so many visual artists, there's so much external pressure to make something, because we gotta sell, right? Make money, that's great. But also you need the time to experiment and return to things that you wanted to do, but that you didn't have enough time or you might not have the resources to do. And so that's really part of our DNA, is to really support that and nurture that for the artists that come here, not only in the studio, but also here in the gallery. And so also what you see around you are some of the books that really inform our practices here. And then there's some books that you'll see that pops up in some of the shows that I've curated over the years, and even some of the books that Amani and I had talked about with your show this past fall, winter. So where I'm going with that, Murjoni, is, and I heard you talk about that in the studio earlier, so what does failure to you look like now as opposed to when you first came here?
So when I first came here, and I was very hard on myself. I'm still hard on myself, but I'm being a little more kinder to myself in the process of learning new things. I learned that apparently I can't be good at things the first time I try it, which is so weird. I have to actually practice and like do research and like do trial and error. That's the whole thing. But I'm grateful that I was able to even do that, looking back. In the midst of it, it's frustrating as hell. You know what I mean? Even, Dawn and Chris came to see my work when I was working on my resin pieces, and a mold had failed, but then I'm trying to get myself together because I have a studio visit in 5 minutes, and I'm on the verge of tears. Dawn and Chris come in, they're like, hey, Murjoni, and I'm just like, oh, these pieces suck. It's not working. I don't know what to do, But it's all a part of the process. And thank you guys for, showing me love in that as well. Failure has honestly been turned into a friend. Fortunately and unfortunately, because it's like, I don't know, it's interesting. Because I end up learning from all of my failures, and I end up doing better. Like, even I was talking to some people who were in there with me about my molds. My mold started from this situation that was like, now I'm looking back on it like, what was I even doing? I was looking at YouTube. And now I'm like seeing the progression of all of my works and how I started someplace thinking that I was doing the right thing, where I failed at that moment, and then I was like, okay, well, let me try something different. Failed at that. Okay, I learned something in this last mold, let me apply it to this next mold. And it kind of just kept going and going until I get my big mold that I'm gonna cast this week, that I'm super excited for. But failure in process has definitely been my theme for this whole residency. But I'm also grateful to even have the time to fail. Because before I was just kind of producing for galleries, for shows, and like kind of being a robot. And I was telling Kilolo that I was just tired. I kind of just want to make work for myself that makes me happy. And I also want to be able to figure out why I'm even making this work in the first place. Why does it mean something to me? So I was able to do that. I was able to journal more, and journaling is a big part of my process because I want to be able to actually break down and ask myself questions of what I'm doing and what I'm trying to say and what I'm feeling while I'm creating. And here I was able to actually do that. I was going to say something else and I lost my train of thought because I kept talking about the process. But I'm just grateful to be able to make work that I resonate more with. I think before my work was talking more about, Black self-love as a whole to all of us, but then my work has been becoming more spiritual in the sense of my work is more of a reflection of where I am in my own spiritual process and getting to know myself, getting to love myself a little more. And hence why I wanted to do the resin pieces to talk about loving myself and like my spiritual journey from the inside outward instead of just focusing on the surface, which I've talked to a couple of you about. And a lot of my work is just surface, and I wanted to dig a little deeper, metaphorically and literally. So yeah.
So can we transition to the two pieces over here on the pedestal?
Yeah. So both of them don't have names. One was a braided piece that I have been kind of sitting on for a while that I never completed, and now she's done and she looks great. Love you, girl. The next one is the green piece. Now the green piece, when I sculpted her, I didn't know what I was gonna do with her. I was just kind of like, I'm just sculpting and just to sculpt, because sculpting honestly just brings me joy, so I just kind of do it, not really knowing what it's gonna be for. And then after I fire it, I kind of like sit with it and figure out what it's going to be for. So I wanted to, a lot of my sculptures that are not braided are typically black. So if they're naked, they're typically black or glittered. I wanted to do something different because, once again, why not? Want to see what happens. So the color green has been really like resonating with me lately. I love earth tones. I love nature. And green has just been a theme for me. So I wanted to actually incorporate that into my piece instead of just defaulting to black paint. So I found this olive green color from actually the place that I got the shredded rubber tire from. They also have the olive green color. And I was like, gotta get this. So I painted the sculpture green. And I was like, this is cool. Great. Then I wanted to kind of experiment with like this mirror paint that I got, which the black sculpture in the studio also has mirror paint with the silver face. But I didn't want to do it in the same way that I did that black sculpture. I was like, I kind of want to like move the silver. But the reason why I wanted to do reflective was to talk about my spiritual reflection in myself and relay that into my work, if that makes sense. And that's where I got the idea of just the idea of reflection in general. So I wanted to start making my pieces a little more reflective, but in certain parts, because when you're reflecting, you're still learning about yourself. You're still, opening yourself up to new things. So it's not like I feel like everybody is still learning themselves always. So I got to put the silver on there. It's a little reflective. And now the light green stripe, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I just kind of did whatever my body was telling me to do. So let me go back. I hosted a workshop, or hosted is the right word?
You led a workshop,
I
your
led
very
a workshop.
first workshop
I
on
led
Saturday.
my very first workshop on Saturday, and it was a clay pot journaling workshop where I made these clay pots. Thank you, Audra, for finding them. I made these clay pots. They were planters for people to decorate on the outsides, but also journaling about their experience making those pots. Journaling is such a big part of my process that I want people to really write down why they're doing something. What does it mean to them, if it means anything, or do they just like what they see? A couple of people have taken the workshop who was here. Hey, guys. I just wanted people to kind of get that kind of feeling. I also chose planters because a plant for me is like a representation of how we are as humans. You plant a seed, and we're the seed, and we water ourselves, and we grow into this whatever beautiful plant that you grow yourself into. But in order to grow, you have to invest into yourself and cater to yourself and become a nice, strong plant, which is another reason why I love plants so much. But with that being said, in the workshop, a lot of people were just kind of doing what their body kind of wanted them to do. You know, not in the sense of knowing why they're doing it or like planning it out word for word. They just, they just felt like this was right, which is what I wanted. I wanted you to do what felt right. Even if you didn't know why, just do what feels right. So with that being said, I was like, let me go ahead and take my own advice and apply it to this piece. So with even like the light green stripe, I was like, this seems right. I don't know why I'm doing it, but it feels good. And I'm happy with the outcome. And I'm happy with her lip gloss, because, But yeah, I love that piece. Once again, I'm learning to make pieces for myself, as you said, and you've always been telling me for years, and now I'm listening. But I'm really proud of her. They don't have names yet, but yeah, I'm proud of her.
They're beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm getting teary-eyed.
Aww.
So, any questions? Comments? Yes.
In making the resin faces, were you thinking at all about the tradition of like life and death masks?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't even seeing them as masks. I see these pieces more as textiles. So obviously in art in general, you have tests. You have paint tests. In ceramics, you have textiles where you're testing the glaze. I see these as more of textiles rather than masks, because they're just a piece of my sculpture that I'm just experimenting with. So they don't really have a meaning to them, or I wasn't really thinking of life or death in that. But I kind of see them as maps toward something else that I'm not sure exactly what yet.
How long does it take you to make the braided piece?
How long does it take you to make the braided piece?
It only took the whole residency. I'm just kidding.
She had a full-on salon up in there, too.
Yeah, I have
She had
like
multiple
little-
stations. Yeah, I was
I
so
have little
impressed.
stations, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Usually in any space that I have little stations, or I'll like clean up and then make a new station. So I will do my sculptures in batches. But to answer your question, that piece specifically took the whole residency because I was doing multiple different things and I hand braid the braids. So that takes a while when you're like doing it by yourself, and a lot of like, hand cramping. And I also style the hair myself as well. I'm not a hairstylist. I know I'm bald. I used to do people's hair back in the day. So don't question me. But so I guess 3 months, because I just finished her like 2 weeks ago. So yeah. And all of my sculptures, they vary in time. They take at least a month to do, and at the most like 5 months, depending on what it is. But yeah, the braided piece is time consuming, but I also love that it's time consuming because I feel like there's so much labor that goes into taking care of ourselves that I feel like that's a representation of that.
I'm just wondering about your decision-making process. I love that you talked about the green stripe and how you did what you felt like your body just needed to do. And I'm wondering about all the other testing and how you decide what to try and what you like and what you're going to repeat.
Yeah. That's a good question. Because sometimes you just be doing stuff just to do it, just to see what happens. Literally the whole residency, I've just been seeing what happens if. You know what I mean? As far as like what materials to use, that is a good question. Because I kind of just do whatever feels right. Like even in picking out the body forms for a braided sculpture or to have the sculpture naked, it's just kind of like, this one feels like it should be braided, or this one feels like she should stay naked. Like the green piece, I didn't feel like she should be covered with braids. I felt like her features deserve to be out there. Not saying that the braided girls don't deserve to be out there, because they deserve their, you know what I mean? But I just feel like I kind of just let my pieces speak to me. You know, I see them as having their own personalities and their own entities, and which is why they all have their own names. They don't have names yet, but they all have their own names for a reason, because I want people to see them as individual personalities. So if a piece, you know, the braided piece, when she wasn't braided, she was just a ceramic piece. And I was like, to me, it seems like she wants to be braided. That's what she's saying to me. But yeah, does that answer your question?
Great answer.
Okay. No problem, thank you.
Yes, Sydney.
I have a question. So I noticed in this residency, the work that we have to gaze upon today is all women or girls. You call them your girls. Was there a choice made to not do any men during this residency, or did it just kind of happen?
Good question. It wasn't intentional. I think they're my girls. I don't know. I don't know. I think I resonate with the women more because I am a woman and I identify as a woman. So I end up creating what I know. I do create men occasionally, but that is also to celebrate like the black men that I know in my life. When it comes to the women, they're mainly a reflection of myself.
Right. I mean, that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's fascinating. I have a print of one of your guys.
Oh, thank you.
Which one? Do you remember?
The name is escaping me, but
Okay.
he has little locks and he has, you know, gold. He's like ripping his.
Oh, see me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it wasn't, I didn't come up in the residency being like, I'm only sculpting girls party only. Like, I wasn't doing that. But I think it just kind of happened that way. Like, when I was talking about when I just sculpt just to sculpt, my mind usually goes to sculpting bald women because that's where I am currently. You know what I mean? And sometimes they end up turning into braided girls with different hairstyles, or sometimes I might want to add something else to it. But it kind of my artwork starts with where I am.
So you told us the lesson, one of the lessons you learned, which was you could do workshops. And you just said that you asked yourself, what happens if? And do you feel like there are other lessons you're going to take from this, from the experimental nature, the low pressure nature, that you want yourself to apply to your practice going forward?
So everything that I've learned while I was here, one of the main things that's been important to me is being kind to myself. That's like first things first. And I think that's something that I'm going to have to take with me to my own personal studio, because I have to learn to take my time, read instructions, and then follow the instructions. Okay, that's the main part. Follow the instructions that you read, and then, just taking time for myself to take a break and understanding that I don't have to produce something every day. There have been times where I've come into the studio and I'm just kind of like hard on myself because I'm like, dang, I ain't make a 50-foot sculpture today. Like, you know what I mean? But it's like, it's okay. Kilolo's like, Murjoni, it's okay. Like, you're here for 3 months. It is okay, you know? So I think I just I've been learning to be kinder to myself instead of realizing that I'm not superwoman. Even though I am, I'm not. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm a human being, realizing that. Also, being able to realize that I can conquer certain fears that make me nervous. Like having a workshop, that made me beyond. I was sitting there in front of the class, shaking my notebook. I was like, hello. I was so nervous. But I feel like now I'm able to go do workshop and teach other people things. Like I had a learning experience. Well, I was teaching Marseille how to make like lips in the studio on Monday, and I felt more comfortable doing that because I just came from a workshop. I just taught 9 people. You know what I'm saying? I didn't really teach. I just guided. You know what I'm saying? Everybody knew what they was doing in the first place. So, but
You were a great teacher.
But I think taking moments like that and applying that to life in general, I think taking learning moments and applying them to life helps me apply it to the studio. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Was there a second part to that question?
I think that covers it.
Okay.
You were a great teacher. Yeah,
Aw, thanks.
natural, really, really, yes. Caitlin, then I'm out of here.
With the work, where do you want to do the experiments next?
You want me to tell all my secrets? No, I'm kidding. Ideally, I would like to still work in resin. I'm still gonna work in clay. That's my first love, always. But I would like to try to apply like clay and resin together. And I would like to work bigger in resin and do more resin stuff. I'm still problem solving with my resin right now, so I do have a goal of where I would like to be in my resin pieces, which I'm not at right now, but I will get there. But yeah, I think I also kind of want to keep working in glass, so I'll be taking more workshops. I would like to work in jewelry that we're working on right now, doing a workshop with that. And then also working in wood. I just kind of want to expand my knowledge on different materials, because why not? You know, I have time. So.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about clay and resin, and I know with Marvin, you were doing this plaster and resin with your residency. And I know you all were in conversation a couple weeks ago on Instagram, and I was just curious as to how have you learned from other people working in the visual arts?
Have I? So
I mean,
I'll use Marvin as an example. Marvin has been a huge help during the whole residency, because obviously, master of resin is what I call you. Master of resin, he's the master of resin, okay? And from where I started to where I am now is a big jump in 3 months, I feel like.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And he taught me a lot of those things. So when I get a resin sculpture out, I'm just like, oh my God, Marvin, look! And he could be in the middle of working, and I'll just come out with my piece and be like.
She literally busted out in the studio. Hey y'all, hey guys, Mike.
Yeah, when I got my first clear piece,
I love it.
I came out my studio. I think you were in a meeting or something, and I was just at her window like this. I was like, and she was like, oh my God, but she's in the middle of a meeting. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I just have to show you guys. But definitely just learning from all of you, like Marco, Marvel.
I know. There's so many M's.
Marco, Camilla, Marvin, even you, Kilolo. I've just like learned so much about still being kind to myself, but also taking baby steps and knowing that baby steps are okay. I don't have to take, gigantor steps, So I've been super grateful for that. So thank you, Marvin.
Two-part question. First part, what is your zodiac sign? Second.
Favorite question of the day. No, I'm kidding. Let's talk about it. Everybody go around the room. Just kidding.
Second, you talk a lot about like just learning new things, just kind of like transforming how you think about your art. Could you speak a little to how you viewed yourself as an artist? Like, what would you describe yourself as an artist before your residency, and just talk about how that's evolved and changed?
Wow. Okay, first question was, what's your zodiac sign?
I'm an Aquarius. Yeah, y'all gotta clap a little more for that. Come on now.
Yeah, because you and Chris are
we have the same birthday.
That's right.
So we gotta clap a little more for Aquarius.
Yeah, we're the Aquarians in the house. Yes. Yes. Okay.
I'm
all right.
Aquarius, Pisces, Taurus.
I like that last one.
Yeah, we got some Tauruses up in here too.
I'm a Taurus rising, Pisces moon.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Details. Capricorn Mars. Just kidding. No, I'm not kidding. I am a Capricorn Mars.
Okay, so how would you view yourself as an artist prior to coming here, and then how do you see yourself as an artist now?
Before, I literally thought that I was Bob the Builder and I could literally do anything in the first go. But I definitely got humbled when I came here, which was honestly, I needed that. I think now I feel like I'm much kinder to myself. I'm much easier on myself. I try to take my time on things more. I try to not rush things as much, because resin does take a while to cure. Like the resin that I'm using, the longest cure time is like 72 hours. And let me tell you, that is honestly so stressful for me, because I'm sitting here like, yo, is it done yet? Is it done? I'm like, yo, it's only been 3 hours, but is it done? Like, I'm trying to see what it looks like. But I'm learning to be patient, and that's something that I didn't have before. And that's something that's also been coming up a lot in my spiritual journey. A lot is just learning how to be patient with myself, especially.
Yes, Charlotte.
Just curious about the process of working with resin. Just how do you do it?
Yeah.
Marvin?
So
Just
the question,
kidding.
the question was about the process of resin. How do you do it?
So I start with a piece. So I'll just talk about how I did the faces.
Yes.
So I had a piece that was already drying up. We'll talk about it. I just cut off the face, and then I laid it down in a box, in a wood box. And then I glued my edges up and duct taped them together so there's no seams. And then I used mold release. I've learned from my first rubber experience to use enough mold release, because let me tell you, I have failed so many times not using enough mold release, and it's honestly hilarious. It's comedic. So mold release on top of the sculpture, or Vaseline. Vaseline actually works a little better from what I've been experiencing lately. And mix the rubber, make sure the rubber is mixed in well, pour it into the box, let it sit for however long it says on the instructions, not however long you think it's supposed to be, but what it actually is. And then after that, you should get a resin mold, a rubber mold. Now with the rubber mold, you get your negative. Then with your negative, put some more mold release on that thing, you know what I'm saying? Because you don't want the resin to stick. Then you mix up your resin well, and for however long the instruction says, if it says to mix it for 5 minutes, you better play a song and mix it for 5 minutes, okay? And then pour it into the mold and let it cure for however long the bottle said. When I tell y'all I don't read instructions, but I've learned to now read instructions, okay? Because some resins cure in 70. I was telling you guys, I have a resin in there that cures in 72 hours. I have a resin in there that cures in 48 hours. I have a resin in there that cures in 24 hours. I also have a resin in there that cures in, what's the black resin? Like 7 minutes or something?
10.
Like 10 minutes. It's really quick and it's really hot. So you have to read the instructions, because you don't want to stick your finger in resin like how I did.
Are there any dangers to working with resin? You have to be very, very careful.
Yes.
Yeah, we're very safety first. We have major respirators on. Masks. Yeah. We have a pretty serious ventilation system in there. Oh,
Shout out to John.
Yes. Yeah, because we did a lot of interviewing artists before we set up the residency. So Marvin's probably full tilt, the one that you're really going to need a lot of equipment and things to,
Because you worked in resin your whole time here.
Yeah, definitely.
But your work is lovely.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, we're going to have our last question comment. Amani.
It was stolen years ago.
Come on, Amani. I know you have something else you want to say.
Oh, you want me to make a comment? Okay.
Oh my God. You gotta stand up. Like, this is about me today? All right? Tomorrow it can be about you. All right?
Sit down and say my comment.
Not with the mic.
Anyway, as you guys know, this is my best friend, my BFL, BFFL, FFL. How many F's are there?
We're lifers. We're life.
And I've been street shooting for 3 months. Long story short is that Murjoni has been on this journey for a long time, and to see how she went from almost like the African or the Egyptian sculptures, they were full body, very long, and then to see the lips again. I told Kilolo that it's a nice little TBT to see that mold there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we just collabed on a few pieces, which was really cool. But anyway, my point is to see you trying new things and accepting failure and accepting hell. This is such
The sound system is amazing that you guys put in. You guys are awesome. It echoed in here.
It's so good to see your transformation, but
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Thank
I'm
you.
so glad, because she is stubborn somebody else. She an Aquarius, but To see you out here talking about failure being about a lesson is pretty profound, so it's great.
Aw, thank you.
Yes. Yeah, so any other parting words from anybody?
I love you guys.
And how about you?
Thank you guys for coming. I wasn't even expecting this many people. It kind of gave me anxiety when I came out here, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, what if I stutter 1,000 times and they leave? But I appreciate you guys even like making the time to come out here and to hear me talk about my work and see my work. It's like weird to talk about myself sometimes, but also thank you, Kilolo, for just being such a gem in my life in general. I've known Kilolo since 2018, 2019, and she has just constantly blessed my life back to back. So this residency, when you first told me about this residency, was 2 years ago. And let me tell you, I was talking about it ever since. I'm like, so what's up with the residency? Like, when am I coming? And she's like, okay, so Marvin's gonna be the first resident. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little salty, but it's okay. It's okay, it's okay. Because I got to meet you, and now we're closer than ever. So I just really appreciate you and giving artists like myself a platform to even learn how to create, or not how to create, but learn new things that we've wanted to learn. Usually in residencies, they expect you to create, and then come up with a product at the end, like a show, or make you sell things. But here, it's like, I don't have any obligations. Like, you're just like, look, we're just gonna talk, you show what you wanna show, and that's what it's gonna be. And it doesn't feel like I'm being like dragged along. You know what I mean? The studio here, the residency here, it's like you guys are like family. You know what I mean? It's become like a nice family. So thank you, team. I appreciate you guys. And John. And Sunny. But it's been honestly a life-changing experience here, and I appreciate you. And I love you.
I love you. You know, Curator.
Oh, you're gonna make me cry.
We are kids. So thank you all for coming. I just want to say a couple of things before we part. We do have Marvin's, Alma Lewis, we always do collaborations, limited editions, and we're going to be working on something with Murjoni and you too, Amani. But we have limited edition hoodies that we collaborated with Marvin with this time here. So they're on sale. Go to our website because they're really nice and they're wearable art. I just want to say that. So anyway, just want to say thank you for coming and enjoy the rest of your evening and week. All right. Yep.